Bonjour mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue sur ma chaîne. This is Batok with Ola et je suis Mujala Olua. Thank you so much for stopping by once again. Today I want to talk about a very short topic. I want to talk about non est factum. It's a Latin maxim that means not my deed. Non, not, est is factum, doing. That's the literal interpretation, but what it really means is that this is not my deed. I did not do this. So it's used in contract law, most times, and it's a principle that excuses someone that has signed a contract from being bound by that contract because they are saying that they did not know what they were signing at the time. Either they were mistaken as to the content or the implications of the contract that they signed. And the locus classicus for this is Lloyd's Bank and Waterhouse. Lloyd's Bank and Waterhouse. In that case, a father signed as guarantor to his son's debt while buying a farm. The son was purchasing a farm, so the father signed as a guarantor to the debt of the purchase. Unknown to him, he had effectively signed as guarantor for all of the son's debts. So he did not know that the son had so many other debts, but as he has signed the contract stipulated, which he did not know because he was an illiterate, he did not know that the contract effectively meant that he was now the guarantor for all of his son's debts, not just the debt incurred from purchasing that farm. So in that case, the court held that he could claim non est factum, not my deed, because he did not know what he was getting into. Now, this principle does not excuse negligence. If you have not done your due diligence about a contract and you enter into it, this principle will not avail you. The principle does not also excuse carelessness. So you cannot be careless by not reading the contract, by not maybe having your lawyer interpret it for you, or by just claiming that you didn't know what you were getting into when, if all the circumstances surrounding the issue are considered, it will show that you had ample time, ample opportunity to actually know what you were getting into before you got into it. So it's not just a blank check to excuse people from being bound by contracts that they sign. Rather, there are some principles that the court will consider before you can claim non est factum, not my deed. Don't forget I said that essentially what you're saying is that you had no knowledge of what you were signing into, and you had no understanding of the implications, the overall and the complete implications as well. So the court will consider, are you in a class of persons that are excused by their disability, probably blindness or illiteracy or extreme old age, and several other things. So the court will consider that. Are you in that class of persons? If no, non est factum will not avail you. Non est factum usually avails people, a class of persons, and I've given examples: blind people, illiterates, aged people. For instance, in Foster and Mackinnon, an aged man signed a bill of exchange, but it was only shown the front. It was not shown the back of the bill of exchange, and he signed it. So the court held that non ex factum would avail him, and he was given a new trial. So those sets of people, that's one. The second thing the court will consider is that, did you make an actual mistake as to the content and the implication of the document that you signed? So the court has to be certain that it was actually a mistake, not just a carelessness or negligence on your part. But if it was a mistake, that is, you were mistaken as to the content or the implication. I've said that over and again. So the court will consider that. That's the second thing. The third thing is that the document must be completely different from what you intended to sign. If, for instance, now you're supposed to sign a marriage certificate and you ended up signing maybe a mortgage document, for instance, now, or maybe they had already, factored in or snuck in, a clause that means that you have mortgaged your property, and you had the belief that you were signing a marriage certificate, and you are in that class of people, because the law presumes that other sets of people should be able to read and understand what they were signing. So if you're in that class of persons, so non est factum would avail you. Essentially, non est factum is saying that you made a mistake without knowledge, So it's an exceptional defense, to escaping being bound by a contract, or to rescinding a contract, because when you claim it and the court grants it, it voids the contract ab initio. So the court treats that contract as if it never happened. That's what non-est factum does for you. So that's why it's exceptional. You have to prove these exceptional circumstances, not just carelessness, or negligence, or you failing to do what you were supposed to do as a person under the law. And I believe that this is why jurat is now provided for. Blind man's jurat, and we have illiterate's jurat. You notice that in some template documents, you already have those jurats, written or factored in. And even now, when you're creating new documents, it's important for you to add that jurat. The jurat just means like a caveat. You are telling the person, whoever is reading the document, or the court, that this document was read to this blind person. That's a blind man's jurat, or an illiterate jurat. That this document was read to the illiterate in the language that they understand, and they confirmed that they understood the content before appending their signature or their thumbprint to this contract or this document. So that will take care of any claims of non-est factum in the future. And if you are in that class of persons too, please ensure or insist that the contract or the document be read to you, and that you understand the content and the implications, both the immediate implications and the proximate implications, and the remote implications, before you append your signature or execute any such contract, execute any contract or document. So that's all I have for you in this video. That's all about non-est factum, not my deed, a principle of contract, and the locus classicus, like we discussed in the video of locus classicus. That is the case where it was well expounded upon, is Lloyd's Bank and Waterhouse. I will see you in my very next video. Toodles.